Hi, it's me, Patrick, and I'm here to go over the results of the plagiarism pre-quiz that you took. I'm going to go through these one by one so that you can understand why the answers are the way they are. In this first scenario, we have Jane is writing a paper about World War II. She remembers from her history class that the war in Japan ended after 2 nuclear bombs were dropped. Does Jane need to cite this information? The answer to this is no, she does not need to cite her information. The reason she does not need to cite this information is because, well, it's common knowledge. It's information that she and almost everybody else should reasonably have, and that is why the answer to that is no. It is common knowledge, and she does not need to cite that information. She would need to cite information that would not be common knowledge. For example, the leader of a particular battle in World War II is not common knowledge, so she would probably have to cite that. In question number 2 here we have Jeff who's writing a paper for his sociology class. He copies a passage word for word from the textbook. He is very careful at the end of this passage to put the author, page number, and year so that he gives proper credit for where he got the information. Is Jeff plagiarizing here? In fact, Jeff is plagiarizing here. Even though he has the author, the page number, and the year, this isn't enough. We need more than that. We need quotation marks around any time you have a quotation. So the answer here is Jeff is plagiarizing. One more time, because whenever you have word for word the same as something else, and my rule of thumb is 3 or more words, you must have a quotation mark around that passage. So quotation marks are absolutely necessary or is considered plagiarism. This question says Maria finds some good information in a textbook about a concept for her communication class. She takes that information but rewords it entirely so that it's no longer a direct quotation. She puts this into her paper. Is she plagiarizing? So unlike Jeff in the last question, Maria has simply taken the information and put it in her own words. This is something we call paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is great, and it's something you should do. However, when you paraphrase, you need a citation. That citation should include some kind of quotation, some kind of reference at the end of it. So you might have the author's name, the year the author wrote it, and the page number so that we can go look that up later on. So indeed, this is plagiarism. Question number 4 talks about Marlon in an English class where his teacher asked him to write a paper about a significant incident from his childhood. He remembers that he had another teacher in another class who asked him to write a similar paper. He gets that paper out, changes a couple of sentences, and submits that. Is he plagiarizing? He is plagiarizing, and this is something really weird that you might not have heard of called self-plagiarism. Self-plagiarism is just as bad as plagiarism. It's when you copy yourself. The only reason you can do that is if you ask permission from your professor. I have this paper from another class. Can I use it again? Sometimes the professor will say yes, but most of the time we will say no. And the reason is because we want you to do the work specifically for the class that you're in. That's the point behind the assignment. And you probably are going to write something different now than you wrote even last year, because chances are you're a slightly different person since then. So we want you to do the assignment again. This also counts for classes where you might have 2 classes with a very similar assignment. Make sure you ask both teachers if it's okay for you to use that assignment for both classes. If you don't, you are considered plagiarizing. In this question, we have Levon, who accidentally commits plagiarism on her paper. The problem is she took a direct quotation from her book, but she forgot to put the author and page number along with it. She did put quotation marks, though. She didn't realize this was a problem because she thought the quotation marks wasn't going to be enough. This is plagiarism because when you directly quote, you need both quotation marks and a citation next to it. Now, since Levon didn't know this, is it considered plagiarism? The answer is yes, it is still plagiarism. Not knowing something is plagiarism is not a defense for plagiarism. You must always cite, and even if you didn't know it was the wrong thing, it's still the wrong thing. So it is still plagiarism. Question number 6 talks about David, who did a great job citing all of his sources in his paper. He put quotation marks where they were supposed to go. He made sure to put citations in all quotations and paraphrasing. However, what he didn't put was a reference page at the end of his paper. Is David plagiarizing? And yes, David is plagiarizing, because while he put citations in the middle of the paper, and that's wonderful, he did not, however, put a reference page, which means that the person who's reading that can no longer look that information up, which is something that we would like to be able to do. Question number 7 talks about Beth. She's putting citations in her paper. She accidentally leaves off the page number on one of her citations. She still has quotation marks around the quotation, though, and she has the author and year next to the quote, but she doesn't have a page number. So, is she plagiarizing? And the answer here is, in my opinion, no. She's not plagiarizing. And the reason is because she made a mistake. She left off a page number. She has all the other information, she just left something off. This is a thin line between plagiarism and just making a mistake. Leaving off a citation altogether, leaving out quotation marks, that's plagiarism. Forgetting to put one little thing, that's a mistake. Different teachers might judge this in different ways, but if this was me, I would say no plagiarism. Finally, Jackson is very paranoid about getting citations right. He got a plagiarism charge in his last class, and now he has the same system. He puts quotation marks around anything he does, even if it's not directly quoted. He might paraphrase something, but still put quotation marks around it because he's afraid of being charged with plagiarism again. When Jackson puts quotation marks around something that is not directly quoted, would this be a problem? The answer is yes, this is a problem, and the reason is because Jackson is misrepresenting the words of another person. When you put quotation marks around something, you're saying these are the exact words that somebody else said. When you put quotation marks around something that somebody did not say, you're lying about what that person said, and that is unethical. We should not do it. So just to recap, those are the correct answers to the questions. And you can look through the answers again. You can go back in and see what you got right and wrong. I hope you understand more fully now what are the correct answers. If you got these questions wrong, please review this information so that you can avoid these mistakes in the future yourself. Because arming yourself with knowledge is the greatest way to prevent plagiarism.